No, they did. They didn't actually. The rolling of the R's. If you go back and watch some of my OVW footage before I was even signed, with WWE, I had always rolled the R's, and I can't remember if I started doing that or if somebody gave me that idea. But it was definitely when I was in OVW. As far as the introduction of Umaga. So initially he was just Umaga, and then I started to really harp on the Umaga. But I remember for the first 2 months thinking, this guy needs a nickname. And I was trying to think of different, like Shawn Michaels was the Heartbreak Kid, or, Diesel was Big Daddy Cool, and Scott Hall was the bad guy, and, Randy Orton's the Legend Killer, or the Viper. And, I felt this guy needed a nickname. I was just like, he needs to have something else. And I was close to Jimmy Superfly Snuka Jr. when we were both in developmental. And, Jimmy was half Samoan. And he would always say to me, Samoan, Fa Samoa, right? So I just kind of remember some of our conversations, because we would do the towns in OVW, drive all over Kentucky and southern Indiana, and just kind of, I'd hear his accent, right, when he was speaking in his native tongue, or he would say Samoa. So looking back at Umaga, I says, okay, he's got to be Samoan something. And, there was that move that he used to do. I don't know if you guys remember. He'd put a guy in the turnbuckle. The guy'd be, kind of sitting on his butt, facing, legs open, and Umaga would back up and just kind of run at him full speed with like a hip smash.
Yes.
And I was like, God, that thing was so impressive, that it was almost like a wrecking ball. A bulldozer swings the wrecking ball. So I always thought, man, if I could just come up with something. And one day it hit me, I was like, he's the bulldozer. He bulldozes his opponents. And I started with the Samoan bulldozer. And then the more I did it, the more natural it just felt. And I would just, and the crowd would wait for me to do it. And he was the the Samoan bulldozer, Umaga. And that became a thing where, it was deafening when I would introduce him, because initially the audience they were only doing my name, and I was like, well, my name is over. I need to get his name over, and dare I say, his name was as over as mine, if not more, towards our peak.